Hi, it's Tanya from My Forking Life, and today we're in the kitchen and we're making a quick and easy meal that is perfect for any weeknight. It is a sloppy joe recipe that is infused with Korean flavors. Now, I originally got this idea from watching Rachel Ray, one of my favorite TV chefs, and she made a recipe in one of her TV shows where she made sloppy joes, but it had a lot of Korean flavors. So I, of course, went around in my kitchen and inspired by that recipe, made this recipe that I'm sharing with you today. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a cucumber pickle that's gonna go on top of our Korean sliders. Now this recipe really strives when you make this step, so we're gonna go ahead and do that first. What we've got here are some cucumbers that are the mini cucumbers because those are the ones that don't have a lot of seeds. We've also got some white sugar, some red pepper flakes, some rice vinegar, as well as some sesame oil and some salt. So to get started, first we're going to slice our cucumbers very thinly, and I'm going to use my mandolin slicer to get that done. So you want to make sure that you have a mandolin that you're thinly slicing these cucumbers with, and be careful. I have cut my finger on a mandolin before. It is not fun. It's pretty depressing. And some mandolins come with a safety guard. You should probably use that. That's just harder for me. So I just make sure I don't go down too far when it comes to the mandolin. And make sure you protect your fingers. All right. So we've got our sliced cucumbers and we're going to place them in a bowl, but I'm actually just gonna use one of these ball jars here and I'm going to put it in the mason jar because I don't use all the cucumbers for the recipe. Sometimes I eat on them throughout the week because they're just yummy. And then we're gonna add the rest of the ingredients to this. So I have here some rice wine vinegar, about half a cup. And then I'm also gonna add some white granulated sugar. This is a tight squeeze, I know, don't worry, I'm gonna shake it up. I'm also going to add some salt. I'm also going to add some red pepper flakes, as well as a little bit of sesame oil. And again, you could always put this in a bigger jar if you feel like. This is about big of a jar as I need. And then you're gonna cover that and shake it all up. And if you want all your pickers to be fully covered, you can add a little bit of water to fill that out. Now that you've got your pickles ready and done, set them aside while you prepare the rest of your meal. And now we're gonna go ahead and start working on our sloppy joe mixture. So to get our mixture started, we're gonna prepare our aromatics. First, I've got here a yellow onion. I've also got a green onion, well, a couple green onions. I've got some garlic, as well as some ginger that I'm going to peel and grate, as well as a pear. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to the chopping and the dicing. And for the green onions, we're gonna chop these, but we're gonna keep the whites and the greens separate because we're gonna put the white in with our meat, but the green we're gonna pretty much just sprinkle on top. I'm gonna grate about 1 inch of ginger. That smells so good. I just love the way ginger smells, especially when it's grated. And one way to quickly peel ginger is to use a spoon to peel it as opposed to trying to use a knife. And then I'm also going to go ahead and cut that pear. I do not peel the pear. I am going to basically core it and then actually grate it. So I'm just going to get those seeds out of the middle. And I'm going to use the larger side of a box grater to grate this pear with the skin on. And I'm just going to use that to just grate this pear. All right, so to get started, first we're going to add about 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of ground pork to a skillet that we are heating over medium-high heat. And even before I finish browning this, I'm going to go ahead and add my white onions, as well as the whites of that green onion and the ginger and the garlic to the skillet. And I'm going to mix this all together until my ground beef and ground pork are both fully cooked and there's no more paint. And I'm using a 12-inch cast iron skillet. Because I've got so much meat in this skillet, it's better to have a larger skillet. So if you can put it in a 12-inch, that's great. I just love my little cast iron skillet, so that's the one that I'm going to use for this today. But you could use any skillet that you can cook on high heat over. And again, you're just going to continue to stir that ground beef and ground pork until it is cooked and you don't see any more paint. And while I'm cooking this mixture, I like to season with just a little bit of salt at this point. Not a lot, because you're going to add more salty ingredients, but just a little bit to give it a little bit more flavor through and through. You're going to cook your ground beef and your pork until it's no longer pink, as you can see. Now, depending on the fat content of your ground beef, some ground beef is going to release more grease than other ground beefs. Generally, if I buy the low-fat kind, I do not have to drain after cooking this, but my husband picked up the fat kind today, and so I'm going to have to drain some of this excess grease out of the pan. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of that into a ramekin. So now that I've drained off that excess grease, I am going to add my ingredients to this. First, I'm going to add that chopped up pear that I set aside. I'm going to add my gochujang sauce. I'm going to add some soy sauce, as well as some fish sauce, a really good quality one. I like red boats. A little bit of sesame oil. A little bit of brown sugar. And some beef broth. And then you're just gonna mix all of that together. You can regularly get that red Korean paste from an international supermarket. They also sell it online. It's great. I've got a couple of recipes that I like to use the sauce in. It is spicy, and different brands have different levels of spiciness. So just check the brand that you've got and look at the level of spiciness before you add a whole bunch to this recipe. So after you've added all your ingredients, you're gonna let that cook down about 1 or 2 minutes more to really infuse those flavors, and then you'll turn it off and you're pretty much done. And then it's time to assemble your sandwiches, or however you're gonna use this Korean sloppy joe meat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them on some sliders. And once you've done and you're finished cooking, you can top this with those green onions that you set aside. I don't really like to cook the green onion parts in it. I like to just add it to the top for decoration, as well as an additional flavor, because those green onions are pretty mild. And then we're gonna go ahead and make our sliders. So to assemble your slider, you're just gonna take a good hefty portion of that meat and drop it on your slider or your whatever hamburger bun you're using. And then you're of course gonna top it with your delicious pickles. I'm telling you, this sandwich is out of this world. And these are good, perfect for a party, especially if your friends really love the heat. This is something where it's amped up sloppy joe. It's really good for a dinner if you like that, but it is spicy, so for the kiddies, they may not want to have this. And that's it. Your delicious Korean sloppy joes. And there you have it, delicious Korean inspired sloppy joes. If you like this recipe, give it a thumbs up. Thanks. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Click the little bell icon so you're notified every single time I drop a video. Until next time, bye. Oh, and before I forget, if you want the full recipe and step-by-step photos and step-by-step instructions, The link to that is below as well. Alrighty, later.